Hello. So one of the questions we received is, how do you deal with the interlanguage problems of A2 and B1 level learners while assessing the productive skills in terms of communicative language assessment? So once again, I think we always have to go back to that fundamental question of why are you assessing, and how is that integrated into the learning and teaching context. And depending on what you're assessing for, in terms of a high stakes decision, or in terms of sort of an ongoing feedback situation where you want to provide more information about what you need to work on to improve, to move from one particular proficiency goal to another. Depending on what your answers to those questions may inform the degree to which you want to pay attention to those interlanguage problems. Now, what I would say is that the CFR from its was always intended to incorporate those limitations into the descriptions of proficiency, but not from a negative deficit perspective. The positively oriented can-do nature of the descriptors is focused on what you can achieve, but there are inherent differences which define performance at an A2 level against performance at a B1 level against performance at a B2 level. Those limitations are part of the criterial descriptions, and when we're setting standards in, for example, trying to set cutoff points on a particular language assessment, we will take those criterial differences in performance into account. So they're inherent in the descriptors. What we need to bear in mind is that the CFR was never intended to give us a roadmap that said everyone needs to get to C2. Those limited descriptions of proficiency at an A2 level may still define success for a particular learner in a particular context. That may be all we need to achieve. So I think understanding that the descriptors themselves inherently take account of the limitations which define proficiency at different levels is one particularly important thing to keep in mind. And then we need to just dig down deeper in terms of how much do we want to focus on or identify issues that need to be addressed if a person wishes to move from B1 to B2, for instance, or how much we want to focus on the positive feedback of this is what you've been able to achieve, and this is fine, you've achieved success because you've achieved this level of communication at a particular proficiency level which is suitable to the goals you want to use the language for. So I think those fundamental questions, as they do with all assessment issues, are still at the heart of what we need to do in terms of dealing with interlanguage and dealing with the limitations inherent in proficiency at different levels of the CFR.